I think a large portion of both men and women would agree that the same words can come from two different people, and it can be extremely attractive, fun, and flirty, or creepy based on looks, social status, delivery, confidence, clothing. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I think that both men and women would say, yeah, the same sentence can get said, and it can either be creepy or it can be charming.
And this is the difficult thing, is that if creepy is, which I interpret it to be, it's an unwanted sexual advance. But what makes it unwanted isn't that that person hates sexual advances or could never be interested in a sexual advance from a person of that particular look. It's that the self-confidence that is said, the delivery, the playfulness, the environment, all of those other things.
I think it's huge. Yeah. I mean, and again, I would list their look, their status, like some combination, and you don't need all these things, but some combination of looks, status, confidence, delivery, that's voice intonation, what you're wearing, like the setting.
Exactly.
That's what defines the sentence being perceived as creepy or charming. And there's some sentences that are just always creepy, but like, I remember we have a
There's not. There are no sentences that are always creepy.
Can I say we have a friend who's a very strong feminist.
Yeah.
And she once met a guy whose first line was, you have amazing lips. I bet you give great blowjobs.
Yeah.
In a vacuum, if she were sitting on this couch as part of the podcast, and I told this story, but it hadn't happened to her yet, she'd say that was appalling. That's atrocious. That guy deserves to get slapped in the face. In real time, what happened was she went back to the guy's apartment and gave him a blowjob.
Not immediately. No, and again, it was
hour
playful.
Later, it wasn't weeks later.
I agree.
It was that night.
I know.
So here's what I'm saying. So this is a strong, well-educated feminist woman who in that moment had a guy open the conversation by saying, you have beautiful lips. I bet you give great blowjobs.
Yeah.
And she did not find it creepy.
Yes.
But would have said, that's the creepiest effing line that a guy could possibly start the conversation.
Sure.
Which is why what I'm saying is this is such a nuanced thing. And so it's especially, when I'm making a video, when you're not the person who's hearing the line from Craig Ferguson, but you're the person sitting at the computer listening to me describe Craig Ferguson and then watching clips of him from afar.
Yeah.
It's just tough to give. I'm trying to figure out how one gives this advice in a way that people even believe it. Because that if I told her a month prior that would have happened to her, she would have said I was a lunatic.
Yes.
So the question is, how do I even package this in a way that is digestible? You know what I mean?
Yeah, I don't have the answer for you, but as I'm thinking through the problem is that the same thing, same word, same this is creepy from one person at one point in their life and not creepy and extremely attractive from another person. And part of what you were saying is that, okay, let's say that you're in that category of uncomfortable, low self-esteem guy that just didn't grow up being super cool in school. Yep. How do you move from the creepy column, which is like, oh, that guy's showing any level of interest is just, I'm not, even if he's just asking me on a date, it's not creepy, but it's like, how dare you deign or not? Why would I deign to go on a date with you? How do you move from that pile to the other pile if you're not allowed to at any point be creepy? Yep. Like if you can't, if like, it's kind of like, hey, you're not a talented shot in basketball. You need to make every shot for the rest of your life. You're not allowed to miss.
You've never bench pressed before. I need you to bench press 225 pounds in 1 year.
Yeah.
But you can't do any push-ups or bench press. From now
it can only be 225. Yeah, it can only be 225.
It's like, well, wait, I can get there. I can do this.
Yeah.
I need a year of solidly working up to it with lower weight.
Yeah.
Or I need and I'm going to, by the way, the first time I try it, I might miss and I need a spotter, but eventually I'll get there.
Yeah.
It's like, no, you have to bench 225 and you can only bench 225, no spotters ever. That's an impossible task.
Well, I think what we're negotiating as a society, and clearly there's too far. Like if that guy, that worked, and you know what? He might have the fucking swagger and the eye and that has never gone poorly for him in his entire life. That's totally a possibility. Let's just pretend that it is. The question remains: what if you're not that?
Well, and the other person. And by the way, I'm not even saying
you don't have to take that.
I've ever used.
So sorry.
Like,
Here's what I was going to say. There's got to be something in between. Give me a blowjob and
hi, can I buy you?
Hi, madam. You know, like, could I speak to your father and ask his permission to court you? And as a society, we're negotiating where that line is. But I think undeniable is that it's weird. You have to allow for some level of sexual advance to be rebuffed. You have to as a society. But it seems like we're increasingly getting to the stage where it's any sort of level of interest that it's that line is just moving back and back and back to you're not allowed to express that you are interested in me because that is creepy coming from you. Well, so now there's two piles of people that are getting farther and farther apart.
Even societally, even when I was growing up, we had this weird thing where it's like, if you ask someone out and they say no, that's embarrassing to you. Your friends will laugh at you, or her friends will laugh at you or something. Instead of a world where it's like, I find you attractive. Would you like to go out with me? No, thanks. I don't find you attractive. Okay, sounds good. Carry on. And then you walk away. And that, in my opinion, has to be considered a positive. Like, you had the courage, you asked, you respected her answer. If that felt creepy to the person being asked out, to some extent, I think we have to go, that's okay. If the question is, hey, I like you and I think you're attractive, would you go out with me? No, I find it's creepy that you asked. Unless let's say it's not work, it's not any weird extent, they're not cousins. Like, throw out all the extreme circumstances. I guess you have to live in a world where creepy is okay some of the time.
Then work is even one of the difficult ones. Okay, let's say it's not her boss. Let's say it's her peer. This is where people meet, is in the workplace.
Yeah.
You know,
I have so many friends that are literally married to coworkers.
So what, are you not allowed to ask a coworker of your same rank out on a date at this point? Well, only if you're the person that's going to get a yes is the answer. And this is the difficult thing. It's and unfortunately what we're doing, I watched a video of Mark Normand, who is a comedian. He was on the Joe Rogan podcast. He's got that dry delivery.
He always says, I'm Kevin Hart, thanks and good night.
Yeah. So he was on some radio show and they're talking about a plus size model and he was never heard of. And he goes, oh yeah, she's a cow. And everyone erupts. Oh, and he's never heard of her. He's just purposely cracking a joke. He's never seen her. But then he does continue to go on and he plays up the role of, no, not into that. No. For me, he's got that whole delivery thing. And everyone in the room is laughing. Yeah. Everyone in the room is laughing. I presume everybody on the radio is laughing. And he's going to get away with that. Now, maybe not for many more years, but what I see is society I was looking at the other guys in the room. I was like, if you said that, you're fired. If you say that, you're fired.
Yeah.
He can say that. Why? Because he is in a protected class. But it's not that protected. And the protections are shrinking on the class of comedians. And we're increasingly split into two groups of people. There's the people that are capable of making racy jokes and have set up that, like, Dave Chappelle can say whatever the fuck Dave Chappelle wants, period, about anything. He's you know what I mean? Joe Rogan is getting there. But he's got the podcast. He can't say it with the wrong person. There's people that can crack jokes and there's people who are allowed none. And there's people that can ask on dates and say, you would probably give a great blowjob and there's none. And then there's it's weird. There's this weird stratification of society, it seems like, at every level, income and who can crack jokes and who can say racy things. And it's like, if you don't know that you're in the category of the people that can, then you can't. Then you can't.
Well, my question, I guess, is what if you're trying to jump camps?
It's a dangerous time to do that, is what I would say. And I guess the solution is, if I had one and I could give advice or have a billboard to everyone, is to increase your threshold at what point you're offended as best you can, and increase the threshold at which point you try to end someone's career, get them a talking to, etc. But because there are people out there that don't do this, protect your physical boundaries, protect your job, protect your income, which is to say that if your boss is coming on to you and you think that your job is online, fucking protect yourself. You know what I mean? Yeah. So I can see both sides of it, and it almost seems like the unintentional, or maybe, I don't know if it's intentional or not, consequences of trying to protect people from abuse from people in power, like the Cosbys, like the hey, you got to do this if you want to get on stage, you got to blow me type stuff, is that young men that are a little bit odd and uncomfortable are stuck, unable to jump from I don't know how to speak to a girl in a semi-sexual manner without being creepy, and I may never get the chance to learn.
Yeah.